coming up on Lawmakers. House and Senate conferees are working on compromise versions of the predatory lending and natural gas bills. And the Senate paves the way for a sales tax increase in Atlanta. Those stories and more are coming up next.
Live from Atlanta, this is Lawmakers for Thursday, April 11th. Here are your hosts, Gerald Bryant and Susan Hoffman.
Good evening, everybody. The legislature is in recess today, getting ready for tomorrow, the final day of this session.
But there is plenty going on here at the Capitol, where conference committees are hashing out differences in major legislation. Those stories top tonight's broadcast.
Among the busiest committee meetings today, the one trying to hammer out a natural gas bill. 3 members, each from the House and Senate, have just finished their third conference of the day, working to settle their differences before the clock runs out on the 2002 session. Reporter Hamilton Northcutt has been following the progress of this conference committee all day, and she is with us for an update. Hamilton.
Well, keep in mind, there were nearly 3 dozen bills addressing problems caused by deregulation filed early in the session. Among the major sticking points that remain, surcharges on interruptibles or heavy industrial users of natural gas.
The proposed legislation from the governor proposed that the Universal Service Fund be funded with an additional surcharge on the interruptible customers beyond what they pay for the distribution system now. And that surcharge is an issue in these negotiations. How much the surcharge is going to be? Is it going to be unlimited? Are there going to be limits to it? What is the money in the Universal Service Fund to be used for? Is it solely for low-income people, or if there's any left, can any of that money be refunded? And if so, how much? And to whom? And all those kinds of issues are arising. That's what we're talking about when we talk about interruptible customers, because they are contributing to the Universal Service Fund, which is a key to the bill.
The complexity of this issue and the many problems caused by deregulation are among the reasons lawmakers have come down to the wire with this natural gas bill.
This is not like a normal conference committee, because this is exceedingly technical in nature, and it's everything every period you change, every comma you move, every word you change could make a difference, and we're trying very, very hard to be very, very careful that we don't do something that would cause a problem, and that's why we're taking it very slow.
Now, it's been an incredibly lengthy session. Lawmakers have worked very long hours this week, and they're tired. But the governor's floor leader in the Senate expressed determination today when I asked him about the prospects for this bill.
We're going to sign a conference committee report on a gas reformation act that's going to, with deregulation, it's going to help our consumers. And in the words of Governor Barnes, yes.
And House Majority Whip Jimmy Skipper says the conference committee may meet into the night to make that happen. Reporting live from the Capitol, I'm Hamilton Northcutt for Lawmakers.
Hamilton, what do you know about tonight's plans?
Well, I do know that the 6 o'clock conference committee wrapped up just a short time ago, and they've decided to come back at 8:30 and continue working on it. Exactly how long it will take to hammer out all those differences, at this point, no one can say.
All right. Thanks very much.
Early this morning, the Senate passed a House bill that paves the way for a 1-cent sales tax increase for Atlanta. As Senator David Scott explains, money is needed to pay for court-ordered improvements to the city's sewer system.
This bill will give Fulton County, the city of Atlanta, the authority to simply go to their voters with a referendum and ask for a 1% sales tax to capital improvements. This money is desperately needed for the city of Atlanta to comply with the sewer consent decrees we recently signed in the city of Atlanta. This decree will require $3.5 billion in improvements over the next 10 years.
There was opposition to the bill. Senator Eric Johnson wondered why visitors to Atlanta should have to bear the cost of repairs to Atlanta's sewers.
If I understand you, that somebody from Savannah is paying to clean up the water and sewer, not the water and sewer users in Atlanta.
No, Senator. I mean, you come here 3 months out of the year. You take a bath, you wash, you use the bathroom. I'm sure you do all of those things here. And I'm sure you don't mind if you go to the store and you have to pay a penny tax. You will know that it's going to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your city. This is the capital city.
Senator Steve Thompson rose to speak for the bill and supported Atlanta Mayor Shirley Franklin, whom Thompson called a courageous person trying to solve problems she didn't create.
This person of great courage has come to us and asked us to help her do a job of courage. She's also asked us to keep her from raising the rates on their ratepayers by 300%. She's also trying to find every dollar she can to apply to the issues that she inherited to make this city a better place for all of us. And if you remember, I remember one commercial said, "And I'll make you proud." That's what she's here to do tonight. And I like her.
Senator Danny Lee, whose district is downstream from Atlanta, applauded efforts to fund the sewer cleanup. Senator Tom Price said the sales tax proposal wasn't fair to everyone in Fulton County. And Senator David Scott said, give Atlanta citizens a chance to vote. First, Senator Lee.
The city of Atlanta has spent nearly $1 billion cleaning up their sewer system. And I'm very proud of them for doing that. But I know, knowing something, a little something about local government, that has been a hardship on property taxpayers. And I applaud this Atlanta administration for stepping up and looking for another way of taking care of it.
The folks in Fulton County who don't use the City of Atlanta water, upstream, you're about to impose 100% sales tax on that 1 penny. 100%. Now tell me that that's fair.
We're not asking for a tax increase. We're just asking to give the city of Atlanta the opportunity to take this case to its county, who in turn can give us yay or nay as to whether or not we can put it on a ballot so that our people can say yay or nay.
Efforts to amend the bill failed, and House Bill 1444 passed by substitute. The vote was 37 to 14. Because it passed by substitute, it goes back to the House, where it can be taken up tomorrow.
3 senators and 3 representatives spent the day in public forums and closed-door sessions to work out compromises to the Georgia Fair Lending Act. And Wandy Lawson is live at the Capitol with the details of today's meeting. And Wandy.
Well, sometimes those public forums lasted only a few minutes, but today's conference committee meetings gave lawmakers a chance to air their differences with the predatory lending bill and to complement what they feel are its finer points.
Perhaps a big unintentional loophole was created in which the lender can pay the broker, for example, a 10% yield spread premium, and have the broker pay half of that or more back to the lender.
It creates a lender liability for high-cost home improvement projects, prevents home improvement contractors from being paid until the borrower is satisfied.
I know it's not perfect. I don't think the bill that we got was perfect, and whatever we come up with probably won't be perfect. But I think it goes a long way in getting there. Our philosophy and the governor's philosophy has been to contain all cost and make sure that those costs are very clear.
When we talk about high-cost home loans and predatory lending on homes, that's just one aspect of it. And I know we're not going to address the other aspects of predatory lending, but I don't want the lending institutions, per se, to be singled out for people to think that they're making all the predatory loans.
Let me be very clear. We all need to understand that a loan is more than 5 years old. It can be refinanced from a good loan, even a zero-interest loan, into a high-interest bad loan, if it is more than 5 years old. So the provision in the bill will not stop the bad refinancing. And we should be very clear. One refinancing is enough to cripple a senior citizen and put them out in a position to be foreclosed on and put out on the street.
And at this hour, the work of that committee continues to go on. I've just seen Representative Charlie Smith racing through the first floor of the Capitol, ostensibly still working on this bill. We hope to bring you a live interview with Senator Vincent Fort a little later in the broadcast. Reporting live from the Capitol, I'm Wandy Lawson for Lawmakers.
Thanks very much, Wandy.
Well, the Senate had a marathon session that lasted from 10 a.m. yesterday morning until 12:41 a.m. this morning. Among the bills they passed, one that requires major medical and group health insurers to provide coverage for medical equipment and medicine for patients with diabetes. Those opposed to the bill said it would add an unnecessary burden to small businesses. House Bill 1492 passed without changes, so it goes to the governor.
And the Senate also passed the governor's charter school bill last night. Assistant Administrative Floor Leader Charlie Tanksley explains how that legislation could facilitate more charter schools.
By and large, what this does is create a means by which, when a local board denies a charter, one can go and get a state charter. So it really creates 2 or 3 classes of charter schools. One you would call a simple conversion of a public school on the local basis, a new startup on the local basis, or where the local board won't grant a charter, rather than having the state reverse that decision, you just go directly to the state board and get a state charter. Another major thing that the bill does is to clarify how we're going to fund, and it makes clear that the QBE funding goes with the student. It will, in the case of a local school, local charter, conversion or startup, the local funds, QBE funds, will go with the student to the charter school. Rather than require at the beginning a majority of the teachers, majority of the students, it allows one to petition for the charter school, get the charter school, and then if a majority of the teachers or majority of the parents petition to do away with the school or determine or petition that in effect that it's not accomplishing its purpose, it then would be terminated. This increases the minimum years for charter from 3 to 5, no more than 5 and no less than 3.
Senator Susan Cable said that she supports charter schools, but wasn't sure about the need for some of the changes House Bill 1200 would make.
One of the changes I do not agree with, but I have been asked to trust what is going to happen with this bill. I wanted the charter school bill to be able to say that you can look at all the regulations and choose the ones that you want. Now, what this bill says are these are all the regulations, and you have to say which ones you want to get out from under. So it's an opt-in versus an opt-out. I think that to be able to opt in and choose the ones you want would be the best way to do it. That would spur more creativity.
Senator Cable withdrew her amendment to the bill. House Bill 1200 passed by substitute because the sub goes back to the House.
One day remains in the session, and several of the governor's bills remain both on the rules calendar and in committee. Some bills, like the Governor's Shop Georgia campaign, have already become law, and many others we expect to see on the House and Senate floors tomorrow. Lawmakers David Zelski has a rundown of the governor's 2002 legislation.
Mr. Callaway.
Approaching day 40 and much work lies ahead. Senate Bill 385, which protects against bioterrorism, passed by House Committee Substitute and now heads back to the Senate. Governor-backed Senate bills expected on the House floor tomorrow include Senate Bill 458, involving health insurance coverage for off-label prescription drugs. Senate Bill 475, which further protects individuals and businesses against identity fraud. Senate Bill 476, which gives consumer protection and benefit verification with health insurance companies. And Senate Bill 508, which would have given unemployment compensation to victims of domestic violence, never made the Senate rules calendar after a controversial vote in committee. Some of the governor's House bills expected to come to a vote on the Senate floor tomorrow are House Bill 1142, which deals with the amounts and payment dates regarding victims' compensation. House Bill 1200 would further clarify differences between local and charter schools. License plates aimed to raise awareness for breast cancer is in House Bill 1402. And House Bill 1441, involving state and corporate insurance premium tax credits, is also expected to come to the Senate floor tomorrow. Now, bills which passed the House and Senate and are now headed to the governor include House Bill 1100, which provides insurance coverage for colorectal screening. House Bill 1368 includes several provisions to lessen the hassle for driver's license renewals. The state matching funds for the Georgia Green Space Trust Fund come up in Senate Bill 438. Senate Bill 465 provides education loan forgiveness. Senate Bill 467 involves intervention in the family violence programs, supporting rehabilitation and counseling. And finally, Senate Bill 482 will further stiffen the laws against DUI crimes. Senate Bill 508 involving unemployment compensation for victims of domestic violence is the only one of the governor's bills that has died thus far. But don't be surprised if part of this bill shows up on a related piece of legislation as an amendment sometime tomorrow. For Lawmakers, I'm David Zelsky.
As we said earlier in the broadcast, we were trying to get a live interview with Senator Vincent Fort. He is the one who's been pushing for a predatory lending bill for some time now, and he's live with Nwandi Lawson at the Capitol. Nwandi.
Well, that's right, Susan. As you mentioned, he's been working for several years to get anti-predatory lending protections during the last several sessions. Now, he represents the Senate on the Conference Committee and has been working all day diligently on that legislation. He joins us now with an update of what the committee's working on. And I'm wondering, off the bat, if you can just give us an update of where the committee stands at this hour.
Well, we're meeting, we're making progress. I'm very happy about that, but we've got a ways to go, and I'm hoping that this evening we'll be able to do a deal that'll, be a win-win for everybody and protect the consumers of Georgia.
Now, earlier in the afternoon meetings, you mentioned that the flipping provision was something that you were very adamant about getting some protections for. Explain where that stands in committee.
Okay, the flipping provision that I was concerned about says if a loan is more than 5 years old, you can flip it, that is, refinance it from a good to a bad loan. That's a great concern of mine because all it takes is one bad refinancing to put a senior citizen out on the street and a victim. So having said that, it's an issue that I'm concerned about, and we're trying to deal with it. I'd hate to compromise on it, but we're going to take it in the context of a lot of other issues.
And from the perspective of the banking industry, where do they stand on that flipping provision?
Well, that's one of the provisions that they're very adamant on in their own way about, but I'm hoping we can meet a middle ground.
Now, after the House passed its version of this bill, you mentioned that there were some loopholes that would allow a truck to drive through them. Where are those loopholes being closed, and what's going on in conference in regards to those?
Well, the flipping provision was one of the biggest loopholes. The other provision was the yield spread premium, that is a kickback that goes from the lender to the broker that the borrower doesn't know about. The broker's supposed to be working for them, but because of that kickback to the broker from the lender, they're really working for the lender. And I think we're going to be able to close that loophole, and that's very important because that would really unhinge the bill and make it much weaker than it is.
Now, in terms of room for compromise, where do you see some areas that the House and Senate can compromise?
Well, there are issues of right to rescission, how long before a loan can be rescinded once the borrower realizes the problems in it, and statute of limitations. Those, we're at different places, but there's a middle ground on those issues. So there's several issues that I think we can reach a middle ground on.
All right, very good. Well, I appreciate your time. I know you have to get back into committee at this point, and we'll look forward to finding out tomorrow exactly what the outcome is. Thank you. And, of course, Senator Vincent Fort, and he is going to return now to the work of the committee as they continue to craft that anti-predatory lending legislation. Reporting live from the Capitol, I'm Nwandi Lawson for Lawmakers.
Thanks so much, Nwandi. In the meantime, Representative Calvin Smiley, the Majority Caucus Chair, is spending his day in and out of conference committees as well. He is keeping tabs on their progress as well as ensuring Democratic unity. I spoke with him earlier today, and here's what he had to say.
The problem is that we have a short window of opportunity tomorrow for the 40th legislative day, and what we're trying to do is work out the differences between the House and the Senate. And when we have issues such as natural gas deregulation, predatory lending, and several health care issues that have to be resolved through conference committee, it makes it very difficult to get the differences ironed out and be able to present to the conference committee members and for signatures, and then eventually to the House and Senate for approval.
Have the meetings basically been civil today?
Oh, yes. We're at that juncture now where it's do, don't do. And from that perspective, our back's up against the wall. We know we have a resolution that says that we have from 3 o'clock Friday to from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. It's a very short window, a very small window of opportunity tomorrow, so the time has to be spent very wisely.
Considering tomorrow you will probably be out by the time we hit air, that is the goal. Assuming that is the case, give me your prognosis or prognostication on predatory lending. Will we have a compromise?
I think a compromise is reachable. Each side has to give a little bit on the particulars as it relates to the matters that they're discussing on flipping and on some basic points and some percentages thereof. And I think that with that juncture is strong politics on both sides and strong concerns on both sides, advocacy-wise and industry-wise. So I think hopefully we can come to grips with something and come to some measurement where we can all get 91 votes in the House and likewise in the Senate.
Natural gas is obviously a hot topic with many people, and that has been throughout the session. I would assume that is still a major priority, as it has been all along.
It is an important issue. It's one that we want to definitely resolve prior to leaving here. Representative Jimmy Skipper has been on the point in the House of Representatives, and hopefully he gives me courage and indication that we're going to be able to come up with something that we can all live with.
Biggest challenges tomorrow, again, you alluded to the time, the fact that you're trying to get out by 3 o'clock. If you're going to adhere to that time frame, you do have an awful lot to do tomorrow. Biggest challenge tomorrow?
Traffic cops, being able to get the measures back and forth. Tomorrow, the Secretary of the Senate, the Clerk's office, along with the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker, are going to be very busy shifting issues back and forth and ironing out agreements and disagreements between the House and the Senate, and, of course, the adoption of Conference Committee reports.
When you take a look at the budget and obviously success in getting the reapportionment map through just in the last couple of days, all in all, it appears to be a rather good session for Democrats. Would you agree?
I would think we've had a good session. We're eager to get out of here and to get on the campaign trail, and it appears that we're in the posture of having a very positive political year, and we're looking forward to doing that.
Last question. Do you think that the Senate filibuster is going to put Republicans behind an 8-ball in the fall, people maybe being upset that they took up so much time?
Well, I think it's one thing to make a point, but I think it's another thing to waste the taxpayers' time, and as they did in the filibuster. I just think that it was not warranted. I don't think it was healthy for the political process, and it accomplished nothing. And from all the indications that I get from people around the state, they thought they could have used the time more usefully and in a more productive fashion.
All right, and with that, I would like to thank Representative Calvin Smiley. I know you're very busy. Get back to work.
Thank you very much.
Earlier this week on Lawmakers, we asked Senate Minority Leader Eric Johnson if he thought the Senate Republican filibuster on reapportionment would hurt members of his party this fall. He said no. He went on to say it would have the exact opposite effect. And from the Senate well yesterday, Johnson said Election Day would be a day of judgment for Democrats.
One more bill is on the way to Governor Barnes. The Senate yesterday passed House Bill 1054. It's designed to help schools keep track of sex offenders who move near those schools. Here's Senator Seth Harp.
This bill essentially requires the dissemination of information to the public schools when there are people who are sexually convicted offenders that are in the school area. It's to place the schools on notice, allow the parents to be aware. This bill arose from a situation in Columbus where we had a very high number of sexual predators, convicted sexual predators, that were located within one school district. But this allows for this dissemination of the information, and I urge your passage of the bill.
House Bill 1054 passed by a vote of 43-0 and goes to the governor.
In the meantime, the House passes the Governor's Health Insurance Consumer Protection Act. Among other things, the bill, Senate Bill 476, defines non-emergency procedures, cancellation of policy guidelines, etc. The measure got much support yesterday, but some, like Representative Jeff Brown, thought there was a better way to improve insurance guidelines for Georgians, particularly in light of a recent announcement by 7 major pharmaceutical companies which are pulling together to offer drugs to seniors. Brown also disputed the insurance consumer advocate Kathy Steinberg's claim that insurance complaints have been stacking up. The basic response from Brown was that there just weren't enough calls to warrant all those sweeping changes, and he felt that some other measures should be put in place, and he referred to that long list of companies that have agreed to provide insurance or prescriptions, for senior citizens. That bill, despite his pleas, that bill did go on to pass. It passed easily, 107 to 34. Due to House changes, it must go back to the Senate. And the House says no to an amendment which would include the handicap in the definition of minority. The original bill, House Bill 1162, called for by the Department of Administrative Services, sets criteria for businesses wishing to qualify as a minority business enterprise. Representative Valencia C. authored the bill and called on House members to defeat the Senate amendment regarding the handicap because its financial impact on the governor's Small Business Center had yet to be determined. Despite C's pleas, Republicans wanted passage of the amendment, prompting Representative Jimmy Skipper to jump to C's aid.
Basically, it's a bill that's requested by DOAS relating to qualifications for minority business enterprises. And then in the Senate, they've added this amendment to change the definition of minority so that it includes either a person who is of a race that comprises less than 50% of the total population, or a person who has a physical or mental impairment. And this is something that's, quite frankly, a pretty big change to the definition of minority in Georgia, as I understand what it is now. And I think what the ladies ask you to do is just vote to disagree so that she can attempt to work out find out the reasons the Senate added this amendment and try to work out some kind of compromise with them on this, and that's all that she's asking to do. And I would suggest to you, respectfully suggest to you, that that's what we ought to do instead of just passing something like this that's such a big change in the definition of minority.
Republican Jeff Williams and others still wanted passage of the amendment, saying that handicaps should be given every opportunity to live with dignity.
But we have, in this state, consistently tried to take those citizens that are disadvantaged and tried to give them an opportunity to be self-supporting, to take care of their families, so that as a state, that burden no longer falls on us, but they themselves can have the same dignity that the rest of us enjoy. The ability to feed our kids and send them to school. And I think that's a laudable idea.
In the end, the House voted down the Senate changes, thereby insisting on its position. The differences will have to be worked out in conference in order to keep this bill alive.
The Lawmakers program has been on the air for over 30 years, and no, I haven't been here the entire time. Every year a new group of interns comes in and makes a significant contribution to the show. From writing and reporting to behind-the-scenes production duties, Lawmakers interns gain valuable hands-on experience and provide valuable help to us. Let's meet this year's interns.
Hi, my name is Christy Knight, and I'm a student at Georgia State University, and my goal is to be a television news reporter.
My name is Lushana Bailey. I go to Kennesaw State University, and I eventually want to be a TV producer.
Hi, I'm Michelle Horton. I'm a graduate of Clemson University. After Lawmakers, I hope to gain more experience in television production as well as experience as a reporter.
My name is Brandon Arnold. I graduated from Florida State University. I'm currently pursuing my master's in journalism at the University of Arkansas, and I'd like to be a documentary filmmaker.
Hi, my name is Julie Turner. I'm a senior at Kennesaw State University, and I plan to be a producer when I graduate.
For Lawmakers, I'm Jamie Coran.
Jamie Coran is a graduate of West Georgia College and State University with previous reporting experience at television stations in Atlanta and Alabama. And they are a terrific group of young people. We actually love each and every one of them. They have done a wonderful job. We couldn't do this show without them. Thanks, all of you, all 6 of you.
Coming up tomorrow on Lawmakers, it's day 40, the final day of the Georgia General Assembly. Be sure and tune in for our last broadcast of the 2002 session. That is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And for those of you with access to the Internet, you can watch Lawmakers online. Visit our website at gpb.org. Lawmakers programs are streamed live, and they are archived on our site every night that we are on the air. Stay tuned now for the fastest half hour in public television as Prep Sports Plus brings you into the huddle for the latest in Georgia's high school athletics. Prep Sports Plus is next here on GPTV.
That's our broadcast for tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm Gerald Bryant.
I'm Susan Hoffman for everybody here. Good night.